The drive into the Schwarzwald felt like driving into a monochrome photograph. The towering firs crowded the narrow, winding road, their deep green almost black under the perpetually overcast German sky. Layla, usually vibrant and quick to laughter, felt a strange stillness settle over her. "Are you sure this place exists, Max?" she asked, peering at the GPS, which seemed to mock them with its looping, uncertain signal. "We haven't seen another car for miles." Max, ever the optimist and the planner, squeezed her hand. "Relax, honey. It's called seclusion, remember? Villa Edelweiss. 5 stars for rustic charm, 0 stars for neighbors. It's exactly what we need after that brutal quarter at work." They finally rounded a sharp bend, and there it was. Villa Edelweiss wasn't quaint. It was imposing. Built from dark, heavy stone and topped with slate roofs that looked too heavy for the structure to support, it sat nestled in a small, unnaturally silent clearing. Its windows, tall and narrow, were like vacant eyes staring out from a grim, moss-covered face. "Well," Layla whispered, a shiver tracing down her spine despite the relatively warm interior of the car. "It certainly lives up to the seclusion part." Inside, the villa was a labyrinth of dark wood paneling, heavy velvet curtains, and antique furniture that smelled faintly of dust and forgotten lavender. A massive stone fireplace dominated the main living area, and a grandfather clock stood sentinel in the hall, its pendulum swinging with a slow, heavy thud, tick, thud, tick, that seemed to dictate the very pace of the house. They spent the afternoon unpacking and trying to force cheerfulness. Max managed to get a small fire going, casting dancing, flickering shadows that only seemed to make the corners of the room feel deeper. "Dinner?" Max suggested, rubbing his hands together. "I brought wine and that fancy cheese we like. Let's pretend this place is haunted by friendly, cheese-loving ghosts." Layla managed a weak smile. "Only if they promise not to touch my brie." Dinner was pleasant, filled with the usual easy banter that characterized their 3 years together. But as the sun truly vanished, and in the Black Forest the sun didn't set so much as it was violently extinguished, the villa seemed to inhale. The change was subtle at first. The wood in the walls began to creak, but not the settling sounds of an old house. These were rhythmic, almost like footsteps pacing just beyond the plaster. Around 11 p.m., they retreated to the master bedroom. It was enormous, dominated by a 4-poster bed draped in heavy, moth-eaten brocade. Layla was trying to read, but the pages blurred. "Did you hear that?" she asked, lowering her book. Max, already half asleep, mumbled, "Hear what, babe? The wind?" No, it wasn't the wind. It sounded like someone dragging something heavy across the floor downstairs. In the library, maybe? Max sat up, listening intently. The only sound was the relentless thud, tick of the clock echoing faintly from the hall, and the low crackle of the dying fire. "Probably just the old house settling, Layla. It's huge. Let's go to sleep." He pulled her close, and eventually exhaustion won. But Layla didn't sleep soundly. She felt watched. In the deep stillness between the clock's ticks, she heard it again, a whisper. It wasn't directed at her, but seemed to emanate from the very fabric of the room. It was low, guttural, and utterly indecisible, like water gurgling through a narrow pipe. Dawn broke grudgingly. The strange noises had ceased, leaving behind only the oppressive silence of the morning. "I had the weirdest night," Layla confessed over coffee. "I felt like I was hearing voices right next to my ear." Max frowned, looking pale. "I slept through it all, apparently. But when I went to the bathroom earlier, I thought I saw a shadow move across the landing. Really fast. Too fast for a person." "Maybe we shouldn't have booked the place entirely by clicking on a low-resolution photo online," Layla muttered. They decided to explore the villa during the day. They found a dusty ballroom with peeling frescoes, a kitchen stocked with archaic, rusted implements, and the library, the room Layla thought she'd heard the dragging from. The library was cold, even though it faced south. Rows upon rows of leather-bound books stood untouched. Max pulled one out, a heavy tome on regional folklore. As he flipped through the brittle pages, something fell out onto the thick rug. It was a photograph, faded sepia tone. It showed a family standing stiffly in front of the villa, a man, a woman, and 2 small, severe-looking children. The mother was holding a doll whose eyes seemed disproportionately large and dark. "Creepy," Max said, putting the photo back into the book. "Look at their faces," Layla whispered, leaning closer. "They look terrified, not posing." That night, the atmosphere shifted from unsettling to actively hostile. They were in the living room. The fire roared high, offering no comfort, only illuminating the oppressive darkness beyond the glass doors. "I need to charge my phone," Max said, standing up. "I'll run up to the bedroom." He was gone maybe 3 minutes. When he returned, his face was ashen. "Layla, don't freak out, but did you mess with the furniture?" "What are you talking about?" "The grandfather clock? I swear, when I left, it was standing right there by the staircase. Now it's moved. It's almost blocking the entrance to the dining room." Layla felt the blood drain from her face. "Max, that thing weighs 300 pounds. We didn't touch it." They both stared at the clock. Its rhythmic thud, tick, seemed louder, more insistent now, like a heartbeat struggling to keep up. "Okay," Max said, his voice tight. "Okay, old house, shifting foundations, maybe it was leaning and finally fell into a new, very inconvenient position." "It didn't fall, Max, it moved." Just then, a sound came from upstairs. Not a creak, not a thump, but a definite, clear sound of a door slamming shut. It was the door to the guest room they hadn't even used. "I'm checking it out," Max said, grabbing the heavy iron poker from the fireplace. "No, don't separate. That's rule number 1 in every bad horror movie," Layla pleaded. "We can't just sit here waiting for the ghost to bring us tea, Layla. Stay here, I'll be right back." Max climbed the wide wooden staircase slowly, the poker held ready. The upper hallway was dark, the single weak bulb near the linen closet doing little to dispel the shadows. He reached the guest room door and hesitated, his knuckles white against the iron. "Hello?" he called out, his voice sounding thin and reedy in the vast space. "Anyone there?" Silence. He pushed the door open. The room was empty, the bed neatly made, the window locked from the inside. He turned to leave, feeling foolish, when a sound made him freeze. It wasn't the clock. It was a small, high-pitched giggle, coming directly behind him. He spun around. Nothing. But the air in the small room had dropped 20 degrees. And then he saw it, etched deeply into the dark wood of the wardrobe door, as if carved by a long, sharp nail, was a single word. "Leave." Max didn't pause. He scrambled back down the stairs, nearly falling on the last step. "We're leaving, now," he gasped, pulling Layla toward the front door. Layla, seeing the sheer terror in his eyes,